12 to 12:45. So try and join in on that. Check our website or our Facebook page for details on that. We've got a weekly business recovery call at 10 o'clock, also by Zoom. Check our website for that. If you need anything else, including business counseling or advice or anything else, you can reach us via email at info@San EDC. San Juan's has an S, and then 360-378-2906. And keep your eye on our Facebook page or on our website, especially the Facebook page, because we're updating it basically from about 4 o'clock in the morning when the East Coast stuff starts rolling in till late at night when all the news that's ended on the West Coast stops. Today, I'm excited to present Brad Williamson from Islanders Bank and Laura Sandstrom from Heritage Bank. They're going to tell us about the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, and other programs that businesses have available to them through local banks and through other resources. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by passing the mic over to Brad Williamson. Brad, are you there?
Of course not.
No, I think Mickey might need to unmute him because I think we defaulted to mute.
Hold on a second, he's fallen off the chain here, so I've got to find him.
Okay.
In the meantime, I wanted to mention that that should have unmuted.
Okay,
you.
looks like I'm unmuted according to the screen now.
There
in
you
front
go.
of me.
Hi, Brad. How are you?
I'm very well. I apologize to everybody. I do not have a camera on my computer, saving everybody the pain of looking at me for the next couple of minutes.
That's okay.
Before we get started, I wanted to mention, if you aren't familiar with the chat button at the bottom, that you can send questions through the chat link. It's at the bottom of the screen, and then we'll let you text chats to everyone or to a particular person.
Yes, that's great. So we'll start out with a couple of presentations, one from Brad and one from Laura, and then we'll open it up to question and answer at the end. So Mickey's going to unmute everybody but Laura and Brad so we can hear what they're going to tell us about the local lenders programs that we have available to businesses.
Okay, so I'm Brad Williamson. I'm the CEO of Islanders Bank. And as you can well imagine, we are hard at dealing with our customers' issues with respect to the COVID-19. I can only call it a crisis, really. And we're going to be talking here, and Laura's going to be going through the details of the PPP program. But I thought I'd just give you a quick introduction to what the SBA is. I'm sure most of you know that it's the Small Business Administration. And they have several different loan types typically. And none of their loan types are things that generally make loans happen quickly. So they've been tasked by the administration with the recent legislation to come up with a program or programs that will quickly meet the needs of small businesses in order to help with things like payroll, other kinds of emergency funding, so that you can get the money within the next number of weeks. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's going to be days, but it's going to probably be a couple of weeks at least in order to get these funds. But the whole idea is to allow you as small businesses to keep your workforce in place so that you don't have to lay people off for the long term and then worry about rehiring them when the crisis is over. So there are several programs that can be used by each of you, and I want you to understand they're not mutually exclusive. So if you want to apply for the PPP program or the debt relief program, or another of the economic injury disaster loans, any of them you can apply for, and you can apply for all of them. And I'd encourage you to do that. What varies is where you apply for them. The PPP loans are going to be done through a bank lender. So Laura's going to be talking about it. She's with Heritage Bank. Heritage Bank is doing this. Obviously, I'm talking to you. Islanders Bank, we're doing this through our affiliate Banner Bank because they're one of the largest SBA lenders. They've got a team in place to do this, and so that's where our customers are being funneled through. But if you're interested in the PPP program, you want to make sure you do it through a lender. And we have various lenders on the island. I think Wells is full right now, but to my knowledge, everyone else is still in the programs. So I would just encourage everybody to do this. The great thing about the PPP program is hypothetically it's forgivable. There's going to be some rules around that, but that will be a great thing for you if you can access that. So with that, I will turn it over to Laura so she can talk about the details of the program, and then I'll just hold for any questions we have afterwards.
Thank you so much.
Hey. Oh, sorry, Victoria.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead, Laura. I was just going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is an unprecedented, I'm not going to say mess at all, but I'll tell you, we've never seen anything like this before. Just the amount of people who have already reached out, who are already gathering packets together. This program technically opened on Friday. I know that for Heritage Bank, we were not accepting applications until yesterday morning, just because Treasury and the SBA, you know, contrary to what Steve Mnuchin was telling everyone, we were not getting the information from them as to what the underwriting requirements and everything else were going to be. And, you know, there's still a risk to the bank, to any bank, in taking on loans that affects liquidity. And so we wanted to make sure that instead of starting on Friday and then maybe having to come back to people and saying, okay, well, now it looks like we need this documentation, or actually we didn't need you doing this documentation. We didn't want to send people down the rabbit hole, so to speak, until we knew exactly what was going to be required. So we started accepting applications yesterday. This is a loan that is really for any small business, nonprofits, sole proprietorships, independent contractors. All of these small businesses can apply. There's a metric. It's not a year-long loan. It's really to get people through the next 2.5 months. So there's a calculator that you can use to figure out your monthly payroll for the last 12 months. You take your average monthly payroll, times it by 2.5, and that comes up with the number that you can apply for with the PPP. The basic understanding right now is that the loan is forgivable as long as you are maintaining your workforce or hiring your workforce back as soon as you are able to open for business again. If they see that, you know, you had 5 employees or that you had 10 employees, but you're only bringing 5 of them back, the loan will not be forgivable in that situation. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, but there are some requirements. The SBA has a great section on their website. You can also go to our website if you want, which will let you know, kind of what the requirements are. Even though we're not asking for, usually when you go for any type of a commercial loan, even through the SBA, there's a long process. They want tax returns, they want profit and loss, they want personal financial statements, and they're not asking for any of that right now. They're asking for 941s for 2019. They're asking for first quarter of 2020 payroll summaries. They're asking for a payroll breakdown so that we can, because it's really only focused on that. There are some taxes that are part of the program. Federal taxes are not part of the program, so they have to subtract out the federal taxes that are part of everyone's paycheck. So there's a metric there. I will tell you that for Heritage Bank, unfortunately, I mean, this is not, and Brad can speak to whether Islanders or Banner is having to kind of take the same approach, but we've had such unbelievable interest and people reaching out that right now we're having to look at our own customers that have established business relationships with us before taking on non-customers. That also ties into the fact that there are still requirements for banks to know our customers, and it's hard to get to know a new customer when we can't have them come in and provide the documentation and meet them face to face and get their identification and all of those things when we're on a stay home, stay safe plan right now, with this disaster that's going on. So precedence is being taken to people with established and businesses with established relationships with us. And I will say that I just got off a phone call just a couple of minutes ago, and we're already reaching out. We're reaching the max. We haven't closed our loans yet, but until we get a better grip on who's getting approved and how many people are getting approved, there's not going to be a lot more that's going to be accepted. So anyone, I would just recommend you reach out to whoever your main bank is, if this is a program that you think would be applicable to you, and kind of go from there. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot more information I can give at this point, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
And I would just echo that, like Heritage, Banner right now is serving Banner Bank and Islander Bank customers on a first-come basis. We are not yet full, but I would say at this point in time, many banks around the country are getting full. I'll just give an example, and like Heritage. And let me just give a little bit of background here. Even though last Friday was hypothetically the first day the program was going to be available, and I know the Treasury and the administration would like these funds to flow out immediately, as of last Friday morning, the final form of the documents wasn't even in place. So there was not even an application we could send to customers if we wanted to. That application wasn't really done until yesterday. And at this point in time, Banner Bank has over 6,000 people that have requested the applications. And frankly, we're starting to push those applications back now to the customers and letting them do it. But it's a very time-consuming process. And so we're doing it in waves. We're doing about 250 at a time that are getting the application itself is being mailed back to the customer, emailed back. But so this is not a process that's going to be quick, because you fill out the application, you give the information that's going to be necessary for, in our case, Banner Bank to process. Then it's going to take several days, at least I'm sure, to get the approval and really get the funds moving back to you. So despite the urgency everyone is trying to address, I really think we're a week or two away from somebody getting a check in their hands.
I agree with that completely.
There are a couple of questions in chat. I don't know if you saw them. One was, does this apply to self-employed? And another was for Brad, asking, the person has a relationship with Islanders Bank. Does Banner feel that they're an established customer?
Well, I will answer. I will try to answer the first. And the question is, does it apply to self-employed? I would say it depends on whether your business generates the types of documents that are needed for the underwriting. And so if you're self-employed and don't generate the documents that are necessary, and Laura referenced what those are, then you might struggle getting approved under the program. But I'm not going to say that I'm an expert. Secondly, let's see, Islanders, yes, Banner does. In fact, if you're an Islanders customer, if you have not already gone to the Banner site and looked at this, you will see that when you click on the link, it says Banner Bank and Islander customers. So yes, if you're an Islanders customer, you will be treated as a customer with Banner. More questions?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of new questions on the chat. One of which is, do you fill out the application on the SBA website or contact our lenders branch?
I would say contact the lenders.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Laura.
Sorry, I know that for Heritage, we have, if you go to the website and you're an established customer, there is an application package on our website with the documents that we are requiring that might vary slightly from bank to bank. So again, I would reach out directly to your depository bank and see what if any changes there are that are required. But it will walk you through what they need. I would say anyone who's doing anything, Brad, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I've had customers coming through the drive-through with just the application with no financials, and I'm just telling them, don't even, I'm handing it back and saying, I'm not even accepting incomplete applications, because they're basically at the point where they have to put there's two piles. There's complete applications, there's the incomplete applications, and the complete applications are the ones that are, those are the ones that we can focus on. This is not, generally we're so used to, kind of walking people through the process and being able to do a little bit of hand holding, and that's just expected, and that's part of the joy of our job. We don't have the luxury of doing that in this situation. Once that $350 billion is gone, it's gone. And so, the ones that come through complete are the ones that we can actually look at. So,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that and say one additional thing for us, and that is it is going to be a completely online process if you're an Islanders Bank customer. You will be doing it all online with Banner, and they will be getting back to you online, and ultimately your application and the eventual loan document will be signed electronically. So I just want to make sure everybody understands this is, as Laura said, completely different than normal. And in fact, we couldn't take a paper application if you had one. And part of this is, remember, each of these institutions that are doing this, while they're applying to the exact same program, they're all going to have separate documents. Even the loan document is going to be created by each individual institution. So this is one of those situations. There's nothing like it I've ever seen in banking, and I've been doing this quite a while. The whole point of it being electronic in our case is to really make it go quickly. Oh, hey, I wanted to say one other thing. I said it early on, but even though you want to access the PPP program with your individual bank, go to the SBA site, because again, there are several other programs. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan is an example. It's $10,000 and you can get it very quickly. I was on a phone call with the deputy of the SBA in the Northwest region just yesterday, and he said they've been turning these things around within days, within like several days. He says it's very non-SBA-like that they're able to do it so quickly. And believe me, I've got some experience with the SBA in the past, and they are very bureaucratic normally. So definitely go to the SBA site and look at there's 2 or 3 other programs that will work right now. And make sure and for those of you that have SBA loans, and I want to make this clear, if you currently have an SBA, and I know some of Islanders customers do, if you have an SBA loan, you can get up to 6 months of your principal and interest paid by the SBA, okay? And that's under the SBA Debt Relief Program. And if you are not currently an SBA borrower, you can even get an SBA loan right now. And of course, you can imagine how backed up it's going to be, but you could get a new SBA loan before September of this year, and the first 6 months of that will be forgiven or will be paid by the SBA. So these are things you can only access at the SBA site, but they're definitely things you should be thinking about. Over.
So there are a very large number of questions in the chat, but Island Time asked if they could ask by voice because they had several questions. So I'll unmute you, Elizabeth, or Eliza and Chris. Oops.
Hi. Can you hear all right?
Yep.
Great. Okay. All right. Here I have 4. So for the PPP loan, can the business select the start date because there's the clock, but then you have to use up the money within 2 months or whatever it is? That's my understanding, at least. So can one apply for the loan and then say, I don't want this thing to start till May 1st or May 15th? So we have paid, so we can actually add employees in that period of time. Does that make sense?
Laura, do you know the exact answer to this?
You know, I actually don't. I have not. My understanding is that once you get the loan, you're given the amount for 2.5 months, regardless of the day that you get the loan. So they're figuring 2.5 months. There might be some variation in that because as we come into the tourist season, assuming that we're going to get to have one this year, that people do ramp up their employees and their staff during those times. That's why they're looking at the 12 previous months so that they can have a good idea of what your payroll looks like throughout the year, understanding that some of our businesses are a lot slower during the winter versus the summer. So I haven't heard anything about that there's a time clock that starts. It basically is, if you qualify, you're getting 2.5 months worth of your needed payroll.
So Laura,
I would agree with that. But go ahead, Victoria.
I heard that the clock starts when you get the money.
Yeah.
Okay,
I haven't heard that. I am more than happy to check on that. That's in all of our conversations here at Heritage. Yeah, of course.
I would say it's highly unlikely that they could go to that level of detail
That's
in
my,
a program
I agree
like
with that.
this that is
Yeah.
very much emergency oriented. I
Yeah.
would not expect too many bells and whistles on how you would approach this program.
Okay. So I'll keep going then. The reason the start date seemed relevant is because of the next question. So our understanding from the initial research we did was that to get the debt or loan forgiveness, one had to spend 75% of the loan amount within that 2.5-month period. And if you did not spend it on payroll, and sorry, 75% spent on payroll within that limited amount of time, you would not qualify for the forgiveness. And that was from a friend who's done some deep level of research with his bank for a sort of larger company than ours. So that's why he came back and he said, it's really important if you can pick the date this thing starts, because he's like, we won't be able to have our whole payroll of staff ready to go until a little bit further into this crisis. And if it starts tomorrow, we won't be able to achieve that 75% spent on payroll requirement. So it was an interesting couple of questions that were related.
Let me see if I can jump in on that one. Again, I haven't heard anything about that. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've been on in the last week with our executive committee and all of the people who are putting this plan in place. My understanding to this moment is that 75% needs to be on payroll. People do qualify to be able to use this for their leases, for their mortgages, for their utilities. So as long as 75% of the total loan goes towards payroll and not towards those other things, that portion is forgivable.
Right. So you have to be ready to turn on your payroll to achieve.
I don't think it's a function of when you turn your payroll on.
It's not.
That's
No.
why they're looking back at your previous payroll history.
Right.
I've not heard, and like Laura, I've been on a lot of phone calls about this. I've not heard that yet. What your friend is telling you. Now, it's possible he's with a deeper diving SBA organization than we are, and there might be something that he knows that we have not heard yet.
Okay, I'll leave that one then. It was only because so many of his people were already laid off. He had to bring them back in from already being on unemployment. So that was the thing. But okay, that's fine. Can owners be part of the payroll?
Yes.
Within an LLC?
Yes, you can. It caps at $100,000 if you make more than $100,000 income, then you do not qualify for the program. But owners of the business, your payroll can be considered. Yes.
Okay. And can it be new employees, old employees? Doesn't matter who they are. It isn't necessarily the prior employees. It's just that you have the payroll.
Correct. This isn't a program where they're going to have the ability to look back and make sure that, you know, Joe actually worked for you before. That's not the process here.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you for
You're welcome.
answering that.
Of course.
Another question from Vic Isar was, are there closing costs involved?
There are not.
And it's also a very low interest rate. It's a 1% interest rate.
Correct. Yeah. And no payments for 6 months if it's not forgivable for whatever reason.
And another question was, somebody has submitted an inquiry form to Banner Bank and was asking if they are just supposed to wait until the Banner Bank emails the application.
Yes. As you can imagine, they had to totally set up this process from scratch. Some larger organizations are able to set up a situation where there's a bounce back email that goes to the person who's applied. Banner did not have the ability to do that. So they should be reaching out to you within the next, I would say by the end of the week, because I know they've reached, as I said, they're kind of doing this in waves. They yesterday did their first broad wave out as a test bundle, if you will, to 50 borrowers, and their plan was then to follow that up with sending it out to 250 applicants at a time. So they should be able to get through their backup, I would think, within a day or two. So if you've not heard something, I'd say by Thursday, reach back out to Banner, and if you don't have luck with that, reach out to Islanders.
Yeah, on the Heritage side, we're working pretty closely with everyone. We're getting back to you as soon as we can. And, you know, we're accepting the applications by email and then replying, you know, if there's any documentation that's needed, or, you know, a lot of people are really anxious right now. So, you know, unfortunately, it's kind of, once you get that application packet in, it's kind of a hurry up and wait situation because it's taking a while. I'm just now today, so it's only been, I guess, 24 hours, but I'm just today starting to get some, you know, some calls back about, you know, can you clarify this or can you clarify that? So there's some turnaround time for each of these underwriters, the initial underwriters and the kind of the final underwriters, to make sure that everything is there and complete.
And it is important to note that while the requirements that need to be submitted are not extensive, as Laura said, it is incumbent on the banks to get that information correct, because the guarantee by the SBA could not be honored if we mess up the underwriting process. So, you know, expect there to be a requirement for you know, general perfection in terms of what we ask for. There's not going to be a lot, but we got to make sure we get it right. And can I just say, I see a couple of messages in the chat, and I see a couple of them have kind of comparable things. So let me just take a whack at them real quick. One of them is the SBA advancing funds to banks to fund the initial wave of the PPP loans? Every bank is going to be handling the funding of these loans themselves. So Banner Bank and Islanders are liquid enough that we're able to just send the funds out at this point in time. What we're going to be having is just, not that you probably care that much, but most banks that are doing this probably won't keep these banks on their balance sheets for the long term. The Fed this morning just set up an arrangement whereby they're going to be buying many of these loans from the participating banks. So that should make for a fairly liquid market, so all the banks will have enough funds after selling these to the Fed quickly that we should be able to fund everything that is necessary. Let's see, and the people, I hope I've answered everybody who's asking about not having heard from Banner. If you haven't heard in a couple of days, let me know.
In answer to the question about is a business eligible for both the PPP and the EIDL, there was some conflicting information on this for a while. At first, it was believed that if you had already applied for the EIDL, that it disqualified you from the PPP program. I heard yesterday that you can qualify for both as long as you can prove that the funds were used for different things. So as long as the money for the that you received from the EIDL does not go towards payroll, lease, mortgage, utilities. Maybe it goes to marketing, maybe it goes to, making your, fulfilling purchase orders or whatever. But you are going to be responsible, the onus is on you to be able to prove how those funds were utilized.
And I can confirm from the conversation I had with the deputy from the SBA yesterday that he wanted to make clear that, yes, you can apply for more than one of the types of credit.
Looks like we've got a few questions. I think we might have lost Mickey through the vagaries of internet. There was one person who wanted to know if they have a mainland bank, if they can apply through Islanders or Heritage, and I believe the answer to that is no, because you have to have a relationship with a local bank for them to take this on as a debt.
Correct.
I say that's correct. The one thing I would say, I really think the first flow of funds are going to be spoken for pretty quickly. I think Laura said that. I will tell you that our hope is that if there's additional funding, we could help non-customers. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure Laura would want to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
It's just with the limits right now that we have in terms of bandwidth, we just don't have room to help non-customers.
Absolutely. Gary Franklin wanted to know what the interest rate will be for these if they are not forgiven.
1%.
Is it a short loan?
It's a 24-month loan.
Yeah, so, okay, thank you.
And so truthfully, even if for some reason you think you're going to need to spend less than 75% of your payroll, you know, or you won't absorb 75% of this on payroll, that's a screaming good deal. 1% for 2 years, that's almost like free money. So I would not be discouraged from applying for that if you really can use the funds.
Absolutely. Chris Reed wanted to know what lending standards are applied for eligibility, credit score, cash flow, profitability, etc.
Laura already spoke to that. It is a program that does not require traditional underwriting. It is they want those forms that have to do with what your payroll and other things that there's like 3 or 4 things that they want, and it doesn't have to do with your overall credit worthiness.
Yeah, no historical data, no tax returns, nothing like that. Historical data, I'm sorry, they are looking for your 941, so your payroll, you know, your payroll breakdowns, but none of the traditional things we're looking for.
Right.
We need to know who owns any more, you know, anyone who owns more than 20% of the business. We do have, you know, there is a breakdown there. Those are requirements for, you know, for any kind of lending for businesses. But, you know, it's very, very basic.
Yes.
There was also a question. Go ahead.
Oh, Peter wanted to know about the economic injury loan. Since that's not really a part of today's conversation exactly, I would recommend, unless you guys want to talk to it, I would recommend that you look up EIDL online, EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and you can find the very easy application form there. And if you have problems, call the EDC's office and we can help walk you through it.
And I would say, Peter, that is the one that the deputy from the SBA said yesterday was having a very rapid turnaround time. And it's pretty, I think it's, if it's a $10,000 deal, they think they can respond to this very quickly. So I would certainly, and they've kind of made that special $10,000 threshold for COVID-19 related injuries. So go to the SBA website because that's one they're administrating.
There was another question here that was asking about, Jeff Zbornik says, I have read the requirements are different for seasonal businesses, but I have not seen any details. Does anyone have info?
I haven't heard anything about that.
Me either.
No, it's really geared towards any business. I will say, you know, I've had a lot of conversations in the last couple of days for businesses who have not been affected by this necessarily. They're still running it, you know, they're an essential business, or they're still able to run their business from home. You know, the attitude is kind of like, well, this is free money, why not? You know, and I'm encouraging people, you know, that really focus on, you know, if you have been impacted by the disaster that we're dealing with right now, you've had to let people go, your business has been closed. You know, those are the businesses that we're wanting to help right now. Everyone's allowed to apply. Everyone's allowed to apply.
Yes.
But, you know, there will have to be some decisions made.
I see a general question about one of our banks is a primary bank, but a borrower applied through another bank, and they're saying should we come to our regular bank and forego the one that we've applied to. And what I would say is if you've already applied to somebody that you think has accepted your application, I would stay with that one, because you know, this is all going to come first come, first serve. And so if you get into the back of the line at what is your normal bank, that's a much worse place to be than in the front of the line as long as they've accepted you with another bank.
Yep, completely agree.
Another question asks about whether the PPP is applicable to 501c3 and 501c19 military veterans orgs and other nonprofits. Do you believe 501c6 nonprofits can apply?
My understanding from last week was that 501c3s, yes, they were working on 501c6s. There was still a question mark there. I know veterans organizations, tribal businesses, independent contractors, self-employed individuals. But as far as the different levels of nonprofits, don't hesitate, I would say, to reach out to me or Brad directly, and we can find out specifically for you.
Related to that, there was another question asking about, we often hire independent contractors rather than full or part-time employees. Would independent contractors hiring count as rehiring workers?
I believe so.
I'm gonna agree with that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Again, a lot of these, reach out to us directly and we can find out specifics for you. This is up until yesterday morning, I would get an email, and within a half an hour I got an email completely contradicting the email I had just received. So it's really been very fluid, and the playing field has changed a lot. I think that's lessening now, but we want to make sure we're giving you correct information. So I would rather have to check on something for you than give you something inaccurate.
And what I would say is I'd apply anyhow, and all they can do is say no. And better to get in the queue than wait for an answer and not get the loan. I see another email saying my branch said that they would send me an application on Friday. I would go directly, if this is an Islanders customer, I would go directly to Banner Bank and sign up online, because I don't know who you talked to and I don't know what they might have said, but this is not something that we would be mailing out to you. So I apologize if there was a miscommunication.
If I can jump in really quick, just on the topic of nonprofits, one of the things that we have seen come through quite a bit in the last day is the executive directors or the managers of a nonprofit organization are filling out the application and signing the application. You need to look through your bylaws and articles of incorporation and make sure that that person actually has the authorization to lend, on behalf of the organization. Otherwise, you need board members or someone who does have that authority to be filling out that application and sending it in. It'll get kicked back to you. So again, since this is first come, first serve, we want to make sure that the documentation is correct the first time around, as opposed to having to reach back out over and over again.
And by the way, I see that Travis Ayers says that he thinks 1099 contractors are included in the program.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
I'm kind of scrolling through the questions. Are there any others that we have not answered?
I think there was one, I'm not entirely sure I understand it, from Katie Stringer. Maybe, Katie, if I don't get this right, do you want me to unmute you and you can, here, I'll unmute her and she can ask it if that's okay.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. My question is, I work from home, so I have a home office, but it's always talking about rent and utilities. But is that your home, or does it have to be like a public place of business?
Do you know that, Laura?
I don't. That's that's one of the questions that's always really interesting when we're meeting with the accountants too, is if that's the only place that you work and you take a deduction for your taxes. What the document I'm looking at right now says that it will cover most mortgage interest if your home is the only place that you work. That being said, again, I would want to check on that for you instead of giving you incorrect. I would think that'd be a pretty easy thing for us to find out for you.
And what I would definitely do if you haven't applied is I'd apply.
Don't wait. Don't wait.
I'm the one who's waiting. I filled out the inquiry form. It's giving me anxiety hearing you guys say the money's running low. You have to hurry, but I don't even have an application in my hand.
Yeah, we had over 100 million in by 1:30 yesterday. We had over 100 million, in approved loans. So it's going.
Yeah,
we're
don't
just,
wait.
Don't wait.
But I don't have an application, so I have to wait, right?
I'm not sure where you bank, but
it's Brad. It's Islanders.
You need to go to Banner's website.
Okay.
Go to bannerbank.com, and you will see should be right on the front page. If it's not, call me.
Okay. How do I get your number?
It is 378-1246.
Thank you.
Oh, and with that, I see someone wants our email address as well. And so mine is bwilliamson, just like it sounds, at islandersbank.com.
And you're all gonna hate me because mine is so long, but it's Laura, Laura, .Sandstrom, Sandstrom, not Sandstrom, for everyone who knows family up here. So Laura.Sandstrom at heritagebanknw.com.
Do you mind sending those in the chat to make sure everybody gets it, everything spelled correctly? Thank you.
Or Laura, maybe if you could just spell it one more time, slowly.
Yep, I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's Laura, Laura .Sandstrom, SANDSTROM at heritagebanknw.com.
And I see someone is saying, will there be more money coming to banks? Our understanding is that is what we're hearing, that there's going to be another round of this. But remember, this is all part of legislation. And let's face it, Washington, D.C. right now puts a dis into dysfunction. So that's why we're saying apply now while you can. And I think likely there will be funds coming. It does seem to be something everybody is kind of agreed on.
And don't hesitate to reach out, even if we have to put a freeze on funds right now and, as we're processing through and seeing, how many completed applications we've received and how much money we have to allocate. If we do open it up again, we want to make sure that we've been in contact and that we've got applications ready to go. So don't hesitate to get everything, together. Start gathering that information. There's nothing to lose except your time.
And Christopher, you're asking if the EIDL is done online, and that is correct. It is online.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do once you reach out to them, but I assume it'll be online with them. Wow, Chris has already applied during the call. Good job, Chris. Or Justin, sorry. Any other questions that we're missing here? And I would even say the interest rate that they're charging for the EIDL is 3.75, according to Travis. Another fabulous rate.
Yes.
Really, yeah.
Hey, and can I just say something else? And this gets us a little bit outside of the SBA realm, but I did want to let anyone who is an Islanders Bank customer, geez, I'm getting my banks messed up here. I want you to know, if you have a business loan or a personal loan with us currently, and you've been significantly impacted, if you have not already contacted us, please contact us, because we are making a lot of accommodations for customers that are obviously being impacted by the situation. And we are working with folks, and I'm sure Laura's bank is as well. So
100%, yeah.
Don't be, I'm sure none of you are being complacent because you're on the call, but if you have any friends or family that are just kind of hunkering down, not sure what to do, make sure that everyone is contacting their bank, because right now I can assure you, every bank across the country is spending an awful lot of time and energy working with their customers that need help. So make sure you do that as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, there were several questions about when you all might do this again.
When we might do what again?
A call like this.
Another call?
Oh. I don't want to have another crisis again. So the answer is 0, ever. No.
No reruns on this.
I think, I'm sure Laura would be happy to do this at any other convenient time, and I would as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can put this together again. We can also, we will put the recording of this call on our website. So, and we'll send it to Laura and Brad if they want to put it on their website as well.
Great.
So we're getting close to the hour of the end of the class, but I just wanted to say a big thank you to Laura and Brad today for coming and telling us all the skinny on the PPP program. And I wanted to thank you all the participants for coming as well. And if you need anything, call your bank, call the EDC, because we're here to help you right now.
Yeah. Thank you for having
And
us.
yeah, and I'd also just like to say, hey, everybody, I appreciate this. This crisis has really been an inconvenience to everybody. And early on, you know, we closed our branches. I just want to flesh that out a little bit. I hope everybody understands, because this is actually a real pet thing to me, is Islanders always tries to be open when no one else is open because we're the local bank. We closed our lobby particularly early because I hope everybody understands that if we got a customer or an employee, and I'm sure this is the same for Laura, that actually was physically in our branch that was ill, we would have to close our entire branch. We'd have to close our drive-through.
Yep.
So the entire service of the bank would have to cease for 48 hours in this particular location. And so I appreciate everybody's patience with this. I think early on, people were like, what the heck is going on here? Just understand, we're doing everything we can possibly do to stay open as much as we can be open. And so I appreciate everybody's patience with that.
Absolutely.
There's,
Thank you, everybody.
before I go, Terry Lineman had a follow-up question wanted to ask about, they said they were not sure they had their question answered about being a sole proprietor. If they're an exempt employer, can they still count their payroll?
Sole proprietors can apply and receive loans to cover their payroll and other certain expenses. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll try and do a second one of these very soon. And until then, we'll have it up on our website and probably the Heritage and Banner Bank or Islanders Bank websites at some point as well.
Great.
Thank you much, everybody.
Thanks so
Brad,
much.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.